Let's build a rock rig using the Headrush Flex Prime and its free web-based software editor. I've got my Les Paul Custom plugged straight into the Flex Prime. I'm coming out in stereo into my audio interface, and there's no post-processing on any of the guitar tones in this video. In the last video that I did with the Flex Prime, I made a bunch of clones and superclones that I shared. Probably my favorite is this superclone that I made of my Soldano Astro. So we're going to start by adding that to the grid. We'll come up to clone, we'll go superclone, load a superclone. I'm going to go to the user tab in here, and I've got this LT Astro SC, a very quick recap on the superclone ability on the Headrush Flex Prime. Essentially, you can clone various pieces of hardware, and then the gain control in a superclone will morph between them. So I'm actually morphing between all three channels on my Astro with this. Now, on that last video, I showed you how you could morph between those tones with an expression pedal. I'm actually not going to do that on this video, but what I will do is I'll use a very cool routing trick in here where I can essentially A/B between two different states of the superclone. So what I'll do is I will come up here to this ×2 setting up here, and I'm going to set the switch doubling over here. So for the first state, state A, I've got the gain cranked up, but for the second state, I'm going to turn it down so that I've got a cleaner or lighter crunch on there. So I've essentially set this up the way I would set up a 2-channel amp, one with a little bit of grit. I don't love a totally clean sound in a live setting, especially a rock setting. Having some grit on there can help the guitar sit in the mix. And then I've got something with a lot more girth and distortion happening on there. What we're going to do now is pad this out with effects. I always like a little bit of reverb on a direct tone. So I'm going to go with the air reverb. And one cool thing here is all these different effects blocks have presets within them that you can save. So I've just saved one called LT Short. You can see the times at 1 second, size is at 43%, low mix. The color is at around 2500 Hertz on there. Let's just have a listen to what this does. Just adding a little bit of extra space and depth to the guitar tone. If you're running through a full range system or you're on in-ears, this can also take out some of that harsh directness from the guitar tone. Let's just pad this out with some more time-based effects. I always love having some delay. I'm pretty fond of the dynamic delay in here. Again, I've got a preset that I made in here called LT Jewel, which we'll hear in a second. I do like the ability in stereo to make the guitar sound quite wide, and the detune is great for that. So if we go to chorus and select detune, again, I've just saved my favorite settings in here, plus and -9 cents of stereo detune. The mix is at 25%, very short delays on there. And I also like using an EQ after the amp block for my solo boost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the EQ. I'm going to select the parametric EQ over here. Let's just go for the default on here. And I like that you can open up the EQ curve here. What I'm going to do is go to around 1400 Hertz with one of these bands, and I'm going to boost it by about 2 dB. You don't have to be too precise on there. Another thing that I like over here is you can set the overall output gain for the EQ. I'm going to take that to about 2.5 dB over there. So when I kick this in, it's going to give me a level boost and boost the mid-range a little bit, which is going to be great when I'm playing solos. So let's just have a listen to the effect of the EQ, the detune, and the delay on there for my big lead sound. love a wet lead sound on there. It's like a cheat code having all those extra elements on there. You can also see I've boosted the level in the detune just to get it to unity. The width is at 100% over there, and I've used quite a generous high cut in the delay, so there's not too much high frequency content in the delay tone, so it doesn't clash as much with my core delay sound on here. I've also got the delays synced to the tempo that I could tap in if I wanted to. Let's add some pre-effects on there now. What I'm going to do is just quickly bypass these. I love having a wah, and I'm just going to assign the wah to the expression pedal in there. So let's come down here to wah and filter. There's a model of the Buddha boudoir in here, which I think sounds great. Let's have a listen to that. That you can park that for that Michael Schenker trick where you set the wah and it gives you a big pre-boost on top of your guitar tone. A few other effects that I like are having a rhythmic style delay in front of the amp, mostly with the clean amp. I think this BBD delay is great. I've got a setting that I saved in here called dotted, which will do this, especially if we change over to the other Superclone state. And then something like a phaser, I like the Phase 90 model in here. If we come up to phaser and flanger, it's called the orange phaser. The default mono settings are pretty fantastic on there. And I do like having some kind of clean boost or drive, especially in front of the dirty amp, to combine with this EQ boost, the detune, and the delay to really kick my lead sound over the edge. So let's go up to Overdrive. There are models of the Tube Screamer, the SD1, the DOD 250. I actually like the greener light in here on the clean boost factory setting on here. I don't mind turning the level up a little bit, but if we have a listen to this in front of that dirtier Superclone over there, I'll kick in this greener, then I'll kick in the phaser. Pretty happy with the sounds and the effects that are happening there. It gives me a lot of flexibility. I've got the ability to gain stage on there between the lower gain and higher gain Superclone, as well as the pre-boost and the post-EQ boost. I've got some lovely widening and stereo effects at the back of the chain and some character effects with the wah, the BBD delay, and the Phase 90 style phaser on there. The last part of this is to organize all of this so that I can foot switch between it. And this is where scenes and foot switch states come in handy. So if I come up here to assign, let's pay attention to these bottom three settings here. I've given them the names crunch, lead, and cleaner. If I look at the crunch settings in here, this is my first scene. And what I like is having definite states per effect on here. So the wah is off, the BBD delay, phaser, and the boost are all off, but the Superclone is on. Furthermore, the doubling switch is in the A state. So it's that higher gain setting on there. I don't have the EQ, detune, or delay on. I've just got a bit of reverb. So it's bare bones. It's that Superclone and a bit of reverb for a straight up, no nonsense rock crunch. I do have a secondary switch state over here though on number 2, where you can see it just turns the phaser on top of all of that. So I've got the ability on my first foot switch to foot switch between my crunch sound and then the crunch sound with a phaser, which I quite like just for some character parts here and there. I've also changed the color on here so that when I'm in the main state, the foot switch LED is green, but when I'm in the secondary state, it comes up as purple. Done similar things for the other foot switches. You can see here my lead scene has the Superclone in the same setting, but I've got my clean boost in front of it, and I've got the dynamic delay on for my lead sound, as well as that EQ boost that we outlined. However, the secondary state, and again, I'm switching the color here, I've turned the detune on there. So I can press that second button and go between my normal big lush lead scene and an even wider variation of it. And then the third scene that I'm using over here, I've called cleaner. Again, the Superclone is on, but this time it is in the B state of the doubling switch. So it's that lower gain sound. And there's just a bit of reverb on it. The variation on that I've worked in there turns on the BBD delay. I also have the ability to use the built-in expression pedal to bring the wah in across any of these sounds whenever I want to do it. So what I'm going to do very quickly is using these foot switches over here, and you can see when I press them, they change color, is I can just bring in my three scenes, again, crunch, lead, and then the cleaner. I'm not going to call it a clean sound, but it is a cleaner sound than before. When I tap the switch again, I get my variations on them. So starting with the crunch. The last thing that I need to set up is to have that wah active. I can go to the pedal and I want to select the boudoir, just set it to pedal. That way, when I press my toe down, there's a little soft switch in there which can activate that wah block on there for me. And then I've got access to 6 scenes, plus the ability to have the wah across all of them. I could go further with this and assign the expression pedal to various parameters, say the Superclone gain or the reverb and delay mix, but that is something that I'll look at on maybe like an ambient setup where we use loads of different reverbs and delays. We'll see how much we can cram into this preset, and we'll morph them with the expression pedal and use the built-in looper. But for now, that's pretty much a do-it-all hard rock preset on the Prime, using the Superclones, using that doubling state switch on there, and using a bunch of the built-in effects with custom settings that you can save per effect. There's all the levels required in here, I think. Not only do you have the ability to make clones of your physical gear and save them, you can organize them nicely. There's the web-based editor. You could use this on your phone if you wanted to add a gig. Plus, you've got the ability to go in there and route this stuff whichever way you like it. I've used the most basic kind of caveman routing on here because I am very much a basic caveman when it comes to doing rock gigs on there. But I like all these levels in there, like the scenes and the extra controllers that you can get out of this. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I will put this preset up in the cloud so that you can download it. Otherwise, if you want to support me directly, links to my Patreon and the music that I make with my band Ragdoll are in the video description. Thank you to Headrush for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you on the next one.